Good morning. This is a very, very exciting day for the state of Minnesota, for Minnesota agriculture, for all the livestock producers in Minnesota who have worked so very, very hard to make Minnesota once again TB free. Several years ago, there was a diagnosis made which was accurate, but also, very injurious to the Minnesota's impeccable standards for quality agricultural products. And everybody rallied together, and most of this preceded my arrival here, so I'm not claiming credit for it, but I'm just here to celebrate the success of it. That so many people working together, the major farm organizations, Farm Bureau and Farmers Union, and Minnesota Department of Agriculture, the Board of Animal Health, the USDA, and then the Minnesota legislature, who supported this effort and provided the funding to bring us to this day where we are now officially able to declare that the state of Minnesota and our livestock industry is TB free. And so I have a proclamation that celebrates today being TB free day in Minnesota, and this is, as Ms. Ducci pointed out, not meant to refer to it as only a day, but we're calling it TB free millennium. And I think with the good continued vigilance and continued cooperation of all of us working together, we can assure that we'll be TB free for many, many years to come. So, Dr. Hartmann, my pleasure to thank you very much for your leadership in this. Thank you for what you've succeeded on all of our behalf and our state, and my honor to present you with this proclamation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Governor
And you're, Dr. Hartmann.
Thank you, Governor Dayton. It's a real honor to have you here today. We appreciate that you could celebrate this with us, and it is a good day for animal agriculture in Minnesota. 6 years ago, we identified bovine tuberculosis up in northwestern Minnesota, and nobody at the time understood the challenges that we would face as we went through that process. But we got to work right away, and one of the first things we did is work with the legislature and the governor's office to craft a bill that would give the Board of Animal Health the authority and the resources necessary to tackle this challenge. And I want to thank Representative Hamilton, Senator Magnus, and Senator Skoe for all their help in crafting that legislation. And Senator Skoe carried that legislation in the Senate and was very instrumental in getting local support for it, so I appreciate that greatly. The reason that bill was able to pass unanimously in both the House and the Senate is it had the support of all the animal agriculture organizations in Minnesota, and when you get that sort of unity, you can get things done. So we appreciate all of that support. We worked together. This was a good example of people working together for a common goal. The federal government, the state government, local government, the University of Minnesota, we all worked with not only the cattlemen up there, but also the deer hunters. They were just as crucial to be a part of it. During this campaign, 800,000 cattle were tested for TB. I'll say that again, 800,000 animals were tested for TB during this time. In addition to that, 14,000 deer were sampled for TB by DNR up in that area. And finally, and I think the most difficult part of it, was 58 cattlemen sacrificed their herds for this cause. So 58 people had to give up their raising cattle for at least a period of time. And I want to talk to you just briefly about one of those people. The first herd we found, he had a large, about 500 cow beef cattle herd. It was a purebred herd, Black Angus and Tarentaise, and he had been developing this herd for about 30 years. And it was a very difficult thing for him to be told that he had TB and he had to depopulate his herd. So on the day the trucks came to pick up all of his animals and take them to a processing plant, he rode out on his horse into the pasture with his cattle, and tears were flowing down his cheeks. It was very emotional for me what these cattle mean to people. So I want to thank everybody who was involved in this. This means a lot for the state of Minnesota, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Governor Dayton, for inviting me to be part of this today. It seems like a long time ago that we started this now, but really only 6 years, and I think in the time that states have been dealing with bovine TB, we certainly have led the way in showing the mechanisms to use to get back to being bovine TB free. Dr. Hartmann talked a little bit about how hard this was for the producers up in the area, and it was a very difficult time across the state, all the testing requirements that these guys and producers had to do. So when we presented the issue to the Board of Animal Health, or when I was around it the first time with them, I told them, I said, Dr. Hartmann, we have to figure out a way to get bovine TB out of Minnesota. We can't just live with testing and fencing like other states are attempting to do. And he came up with the proposal that the only way to do this is to remove animals. And so that's what the state did. And we did it with the work of the USDA. We did it with the state of Minnesota and county government, providing a lot of help with the local producers. And 3 agencies in the state. We had the DNR with the white-tailed deer, and Department of Ag, and then of course the Board of Animal Health was a lead agency with the cattle industry. And what it really is it's a demonstration of what good government can be, because you could not have done this without the state government taking the lead and providing the resources and the expertise to get Minnesota back to bovine TB free. And there's a lot of credit to go around, and I was just happy to play a small part in this, and really happy to be here today as we proclaim Minnesota bovine TB free again. So thank you all.
So we were talking age before beauty here a little bit earlier, but I guess I'm going before my good friend Senator Magnus. And there's not a whole lot I can add to what the comments were made earlier, aside from a simple thank you from myself. And you take a look, it was mentioned here earlier about government working to orchestrate this and bringing it to a reality and the importance of that. And I'd like to echo that as well. And you can go back not only on the bovine TB piece, but in hogs and other livestock sectors, whether it's the pseudo, different things that have emerged here as well. We as producers are very, very proud in who we are and what we do. This is our livelihood, caring for the animals, producing a safe, wholesome, great tasting product for the consumers. And we cannot do that without the help of whether it's the Board of Animal Health, the Department of Agriculture, all the other entities that were named as well. Again, I'd like to say thank you on behalf of all the producers, being a producer myself, because we take a lot of pride in who we are and what we do. And again, thank you so much.
Great day for Minnesota, great day for Minnesota agriculture. When you have a tragedy like this staring you in the face, there's only one thing to do, and that's take it head on. And that was the message that we told our colleagues here at the legislature. We need your help. We've got to take this devastating tragedy that's facing us head on. We got to put aside any differences, metro, rural, partisan politics. We've got to put it aside and save a billion-dollar industry here in the state of Minnesota, because we can't have a livestock industry in trouble and have a strong agriculture. We can't have a strong state without a strong agriculture. It's such a big part of our state. So we did, and a lot of people are to be commended and to take credit, especially Dr. Bill Hartmann putting together the program to salvage this. And we can talk a lot about it, but probably the best comment I can make about the efforts we made is the other states are copying it. Other states that are facing the same tragedy that we faced in the last several years are looking at Minnesota, the effort that we did, and looking at it as the way to handle this problem. So a lot of credit goes around the Department of Agriculture, Board of Animal Health, the administration, and the legislature, and certainly the guys in the back with the cowboy hats and the dairy guys and everybody else. You know what we were facing. I fed cattle all my life until I had a temporary loss of my senses and ran for office. A little hard to feed cattle in the morning and the evenings when you're 190 miles away. But I know what the guy feels like when you spend your whole career building a livestock herd and then to see it disappear. Hurts a lot. So we did it, we took it on, and we did the right thing. And thankfully, we got the proclamation here today and hope we last. We don't want to go through it again. So we keep our funding up for research, keep our funding up for Board of Animal Health, protect our livestock and food industries. And so thank you very much for attending today, and thank you everyone for your support and your help. You guys in the back, you really did a good job. Thank you.
Well, one of the great things about being last is everything has already been said, and so I'll just can everything I had ready and comment briefly that I had the privilege, I guess, of attending many of those informational meetings across the state, Dr. Bill, and I remember driving into a little town in northwestern Minnesota called Gregla. And when I got there, I thought, my goodness, there must be a basketball game tonight. There's cars all over the place. They're spilling out into the streets. The place was literally loaded with cars. And I walked into the gymnasium, and I had this smell of wood smoke and Mackinaw shirts. And there were 400 farmers gathered in the Gregla Gymnasium. And so this was a big deal. For livestock producers all across Minnesota. I see Don Schiefelbein here, producer in Minnesota. Don, you can tell them they've got the hats on back there. The Board of Animal Health, I want to acknowledge the work that they did and certainly acknowledge the producer work that you did. You committed resources, raising nearly $1 million to assist in eradicating bovine TB, and my compliments to you and hats off. And again, farmers and ranchers and state government working together, in my opinion, is no surprise. Witness the Ag Department's budget this past year. We tend to get our sleeves rolled up and get down to business and get the work done. And here again, Dr. Hartmann and Governor Dayton, your support for this issue in the fact that there are so many other huge issues floating around out there today that we could be talking about, but your support to hold an event today and frame this issue of bovine TB free speaks volumes. Let me introduce to you Paul Ugstad from USDA. Paul flew in yesterday from Raleigh, North Carolina to specifically to attend the event today and to present a plaque also to folks here. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and it gives me great pleasure to be here, and thanks, Bill, for inviting me to come and present this certificate. I was given the opportunity during my career to be on the receiving end of these certificates in California and in Texas, and so I know how hard a work it is, and it really does illustrate partnerships between the federal government, the state government, and the industry. If the industry could handle these diseases by themselves, they would, but these are difficult diseases to deal with, as everybody knows. And partnerships are kind of like marriages, you know, there's ups and downs, and today is a huge up because it's a success for the state of Minnesota, it's a success for all the cattle producers in the state, and it's a success for the U.S. Department of Agriculture as well. And this certificate is signed by Thomas Vilsack, the Secretary of Agriculture, and it certifies that Minnesota has been afforded the status of accredited free in cattle and bison and has met all the requirements under the cooperative state federal tuberculosis eradication program. Dr. Hartmann. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand.
That's a big certificate. Thank you so much.
My name is Steve Brake. I'm the former president of the Minnesota State Cattlemen. Right now, at the governor's discretion, I serve on the Board of Animal Health. I'm a producer from Wilmot, Minnesota, down closer to Worthington and Sioux Falls, South Dakota than here. So I get a little nervous when I come into the big city. But, you know, Dr. Hartmann talked about the emotion that some of these producers experienced up there, but put yourself in their shoes. I don't care if you have 3 cows or 1,000 cows. You know how that cow reacts, every single one of them. You know their traits. You know, you raised them. You had them bred. You mothered them to having this calf. You ride on your horse. You ride on your four-wheeler. You drive through them with your pickup every single day, including Sundays and snowstorms. And you, all of a sudden, the next day they're all gone. And just imagine what that's like. These guys who sacrificed their herds up there went through that, and I can't imagine. I didn't have to experience that myself, but I can't imagine walking out my front door in the morning and not seeing my herd of cattle out there. So what these producers went through, what these people did behind me to ensure that we don't have to deal with this any longer, or right now it's gone. So what a relief for the industry, for the state, and just the economical impact that livestock has in this state is just unfathomable by some of us who live out away from here, and it's our livelihoods, and we appreciate everything that was done. And I guess I thank you all, and I'd like to have Don Schiefelbein say a few words.
Thank you. This is a bit of a surprise, so I wasn't planning on standing in front of the governor and speaking with you all, but I can say it's a great occasion to do so. When you look at, from my perspective, what this all means, it means effective government works. When you look at this whole problem that was dealt to us, and it was dealt to us suddenly, without the effective leadership of all the people behind me, none of it could have come down. And what I appreciate so much of what occurred through this process, and I think it's what effective leadership in government is all about, in that they actually asked us questions. They said, Cattlemen, how can we take on this problem? What's the best means to get our arms around it? How do we get this whole group of cattle in the Northwest contained? What's the best process? And to sit down with my friends here in the Congress, in the leadership positions, I can tell you it was refreshing for them to ask questions like, how can we work together? I think the results speak for themselves. We're proud to stand before you, and we appreciate all the efforts that everybody behind me have done. So thank you very much.